Has it been rebuilt when you got it?
Blew up last night, mate. Worked at 3. Timing pinion shifts 2. In all the teeth. Not my ear, mate. Really lovely. Works. Teeth cams.
Slipped off
The other side of the fence, please. Only these people have got special permission to be here. If you can be on the other side of the fence, please. Thank you.
racers, and then the round stickers will be by the wall. Chain. First Morgan. This is a 1912 sporting model. The body shape has rather unkindly been described as like that of a tin bath at its time, and that it collects all the water when it's raining. The engine is a side valve Jaff, and the gears, like all the early Morgans, are 2-speed by chain and dog circulation at the rear. Acetylene lights, and he's making rather a good attempt here, considering that earlier on today the engine was suffering from advanced years and the heat of the day. Oops, he seems to have slowed. It's a 1922 Morgan, which was sold initially to an ironmonger and then later on to a chauffeur who used the car until the Second World War. He only did 12,000 miles until the Second World War, and then it was acquired by the present owner in 1977, requiring only minor restoration to get it going. The engine on this is an MAG engine from the Swiss company Motor Sacoche from Geneva, and just like the Jap, he seems to have stalled at the S's. Well, it looks like the 1922 Deluxe is receiving a little assistance, and with those horsepower from Geneva and a little foot power from Malvern, it's on its way now to the top. And were designed to carry 40 stone in weight when they were first introduced around 1919. This particular model is powered by an MAG engine, and which costs £5 more than the standard Jap engine that they could be fitted with. It also has various other extras, such as wheel discs, which are £3 extra, electric lighting, which costs £10 extra, a speed indicator, which costs 5 guineas, and a hood cover, making the total price in 1923 up to £187. The next Morgan on the course is an MAG Aero. Powering its way around. The family model now coming up to the Torres Bend is Roger Orford's Blackburn engine family, which for many years was a hack used by Roger Orford and Andrew Perry Keane as a standby machine to get them to work. They bought it for £12 10 shillings. On the course is Andrew Perry Keane, who was the co-owner of the previous car, with his very nice 1926 Blackburn engine Aero. The Blackburn engine was the Rolls-Royce of V-twin engines, cost more than the others, was only introduction for a short time, being phased out in 1927. This particular Morgan is very actively used, has been raced and rallied, and very attractive in its green paint. We have now, I think, Mike Syme in his well-known 1928 aero with a dog-eared Jap engine. Mike uses this car for all sorts of events. He's been trialling it. He's had a go in the Land's End trial fairly recently. He's recently competed in one of the VSCC trials, and he told me just earlier that he only failed on one section, beating the Fraser Nashes, which are also chain drive. Next we have a Super Aero. The Super Aero was introduced in 1927, very late on, and was the ultimate in racing Morgans. The original one we will see later being paraded as a racing machine. This particular one is a production one, again 2-speed like all those we've seen, fitted with an overhead valve Jap engine and a much lower body, and they were guaranteed these for a top speed of 80 miles an hour. They were tested along one of the little roads near Malvern. Now we have Stanthorpe in a 1929 Aero. This Morgan is another well-known Club Morgan, currently fitted with an Anzani engine, which was not a very popular engine, although relatively cheap. One time they had a lot of problem with the valve heads breaking, and Morgans in fact drove the company into liquidation at one point, although they later reformed with help from Archie Fraser Nash. At the end of 1931, the very first of the 3-speeders were produced, and so a 3-speed and reverse gearbox was fitted right at the back with a single chain to the rear wheel. One of the first fitted with this car was the Sports Family model, which is a sort of cross between an aero type front and a family back end, allowing it to hold 4 people, 2 reasonable adults and 2 children with no legs. This particular car is in fact the 1931 show model, and it's painted in its original colour of black with green wheels. Next up is Jack Whitehead in a 1933 Sports 2-seater. This was the successor to the Aero model. The Aero being phased out in 3-speeder time, and then he went on to short period, and then the Sports became the standard touring Morgan. It's fitted, well, it's been owned by Jack for 20 years now, and 4 years ago he took all the accessories and things off and restored it back to normal condition as it was when it left Morgan's in 1933. Tony Ruffin, 1933 Super Sports. Tony says that if anyone recognises this car on its way up and can give some information, he would be delighted to hear from it. The engine fitted is a matchless engine. Morgan's used Jap engines from the beginning until about 1933, and then Matchless produced a V-twin which Morgan's then decided to use. It's certainly a very poky engine, the Matchless. Final Jap engines had a different angle between the cylinders. They were 60-degree angle, and to try and conform with Morgan's, who wanted the machine to be started from the front when they went to 3-speed, they arranged for a starting system engaging with one of the camshafts. This proved to be one of the Achilles heels of these motors, and in later years have caused a lot of problems. So they're not always the most popular engine with three-wheeler enthusiasts. Another Sports on its way up. I think this is Roger Barlow's 1935 Sports 2-seater. The aluminium spare wheel cover was a period fitting, and somehow it helps to make the back end look like the famous beer bottle, looked on end on. 1935 Super Sports fitted with a water-cooled overhead valve matchless engine. This car is used fairly extensively by John. He's been over onto the continent of Europe touring with this car and regularly attends sub-functions with it. He has had problems with it over this weekend, however, and A little earlier this morning he was looking decidedly grumpy, but it seems to be running very well now. This model was introduced in 1933 after much experiment with various four-cylinder engines. It was really a way of trying to keep up with the Austin 7 and the Ford 10 and the Morris 8, which were taking the popular market for cheap cars. These were fitted initially with Ford 8 engines, although the Ford 10 became optional later on, and various body styles were produced, a four-seater version and a two-seater version.
This is Ken Hill's beautiful Le Mans replica, which must be one of the most famous of the early Morgans. It was sold new from the factory in 1946. It's in exactly original condition and incorporates many of the special features designed which were incorporated in the actual cars that ran on Le Mans in 1938 and 39. I'm under the impression there were only 3 or 4 Le Mans replicas built, so this is a very rare Morgan indeed, fitted with a 1098cc Coventry Climax engine.
And this is Tony Fluerling with his 1940 F2 two-seater Morgan. It's in a rather interesting colour scheme. This is as it was when it left the works, with a black chassis, aluminium painted wheels, red upholstery and grey bodywork. Tony tried to match up the bodywork and managed to find some original paint inside the bonnet catch slides. Now we have Tony Burks in a 1948 F Super. This was a sort of cross between the Super Sports three-wheeler and the front end of the standard F-type Morgan, and was the model which went on until the final production ceased of F-types in 1952. Here we have Steve Lister and his wife Debbie driving up in their 1950 F Super, one of the last of the famous three-wheelers to leave the factory. It's had 8 owners up to 1965 and then was dismantled for the next 15 years. Restoration was completed in 1980 and he's covered several thousand miles in it since.
Now we're up to another four-wheeler. This is Mr. and Mrs. Ray Salisbury in their 1949 Standard Special Coupe. Next we have Bill Hall in a 1950 Standard Special Engine four-seater Series 1. It's Old English white and it was purchased by its present owner in 1976 as a basket case, as is said. It's not been on the road since 1970. He's rebuilt it slowly over a period of 8 years and is now on the road for the first time as from May this year. This is a standard Vanguard engined +4 coupe of 1952. It's 2088cc. Narni has had it for a number of years and rescued it in an extremely dilapidated state. So he's done a great deal of work on this. It's his pride and joy, and he does many, many thousands of miles and attends a lot of our events in this country. Yes, following it, we have Wim van der Meer from Holland in a cream flatrad coupe. Now, this was sent up in addition to Arnie because Arnie's car, if you look at it closely, isn't as original as perhaps it might be. This is a very nice, clean, and largely original example of a two-seater +4 flatland coupe. Next car on the hill is John Tomlinson in a 1952 +4 four-seater. This was completed and tested on the 31st of March 1952 and has the Vanguard engine of 2088cc. It was dispatched and sold originally by Bowman and Acox and subsequently by Garbett Motors of Kidderminster. Now this is known as the interim model, which is fascinating because it has a flat radiator grille and flat tops to the headlights. They're not the curved headlight pods. So it's the model that came between the last of the flatrads and the first of the proper full-cowled +4s. I'm not very sure how many of these interim cars were built, but it was only certainly a very few. And in fact, the headlights now come lower, I think, than the current legal requirement. John Trenchard in a 1955 plus 4. It's 1991cc. This is a TR2 engine, which was a nice little engine. It lacked the torque, bottom end torque of the bigger one, but it certainly was a very pleasant engine and was more economical. Now this is a 4-seater plus 4 coupe. As you all know, this is a very rare motor car. There were suggestions as to the numbers that had been built, but Dixon saw me last night and he said they now think there were 34. There's quite a hatch of them being discovered in America, which hadn't been traced before. Dixon's had it for 23 years and has competed in sprints, production car trials, driving tests, rallies, you name it. The next car on the hill is John the Measurer and Elaine in a Series 2 of 1956 vintage. This is fitted with the Ford 1172, that's the 100E side valve engine. He's fitted a Kenlow fan and one or two other little accessories. It's nice to see a Series 2 that hasn't had a later engine put in it, because it's an easy mod, but it seems a shame that so many of the Series 2s have been uprated in this way, because they're now extremely rare to find a proper 100D engine, 3-speed box, Series 2, and this one looks in extremely nice, tidy condition. 4-seater plus 4. We're beginning to get up to a bit more powerful machinery now. This has got later flashes fitted and telescopic rear shock absorbers. Now I'm totally wrong, I don't know who that is, actually, you have to forgive me. This is Colin Harris, I stand corrected, it must be. It's a blue plus 4 4-seater, 1991cc, 1962. It was bought new by Edmund Dorrell, brought from Alan White's as a crash in 1972, and it was totally rebuilt by the current owner. And here we have a plus 4 plus. This was a fiberglass development that was built by the Malta Motor Company in the early 60s. Underneath, it's an ordinary plus 4 to quite an extraordinary extent. I think you could almost do a straight body swap, with the exception possibly of the valances. They were much faster than the conventional plus 4, being a better shape. There were, I think, only 25 built. Plus 4 Super Sports, owned by Peter Livesey. It's fitted with stainless steel exhaust and oil temperature gauge, but apart from that, returns it pretty well original. It was first registered in March 1967. A very exciting motor car indeed. This is the same, or a production version of the car that ran at the Moor, having the smaller 4.4 body fitted on a plus 4 chassis. Next on the line is David Pilgrim. Now this is a very beautiful plus 4 coupe with a Lawrence tune motor, which is unusual. I only know of one other, which was owned by Baggy Sash, which I think finished up in Australia. This is a really elegant gentleman's carriage. To see one of these racing at Goodwood was quite a sight in the old days, and Baggy Sashes was raced certainly successfully and frequently, and used to put the fear of God up, Lotus Elites and all sorts of things. Now I could talk all day about this next car on the hill, I won't. It's the Lindsay's Plus 8. It's a Mossbox car. It's chassis number 21. It was originally registered in the Isle of Man, hence it having an H registration. The Lindsays have owned it for a number of years. They've raced it everywhere you can mention. It suffered an enormous shunt in the 24-hour relay. Well worth a look at in the paddock. It's a lovely, interesting area. Next on the hill, I don't need to look at my notes, is John Worrell. Very pleasant, 1974, 4.4 2-seater. The next car on the hill is David Hunt in a lightweight plus 8. Now again, this is something that has been straightened out recently in the club. There were only 19 genuine Class 8 lightweights made. This was the last of the 4 speeders with an aluminium body and 14-inch wheels. And David Hunt has had this car about 6 months. The next car on the hill is Peter Taylor in a Fiat engine 4-seater of 1982 vintage. This uses the 131 Fiat 1600 twin cam engine, which is the most successful unit in the Morgan. It goes extremely well. The next one on the hill is Maurice Knott from Bridgnorth, and his 4-seater has the XR3 engine, which I find tends to be more popular. I don't know why. It must be something to do with Morgan owners' conservatism, but the XR3 is an extremely pleasant engine, and the latter ones, of course, have the 5-speed box as well. This, ladies and gentlemen, is John Caroline Donovan in the first of the fuel-injected Class 8s. Now, I think in years to come, this is going to be the car to watch, possibly the car to collect, but an injected Class 8, I haven't laid my hands on one yet.
On to cars of special interest. And the first one is a 1924 Aero, which has been built from bits and pieces with a special polished aluminium body of the type used by Morgans in the famous 200-mile races run at Brooklands in 1921 to 1924, when an unfortunate accident to E.B. Ware stopped Morgan three-wheelers racing against four-wheelers. Now we have Andrew Perry Keane in one of his latest creations, which is a very narrow Morgan, having a body rather like that of the single-seater which is shown at the 1923 Olympia motorcycle show. Seems to be misfiring a little currently, but he's only just had this finished especially for this event. The next Morgan now on its way, these are red Super Aero. This is one of the most famous Brooklands Morgans. This is the very first Super Aero. It was a Morgan that originally was a 200-mile race car. It was turned over at Southport on the Sands in 1926, and Ronnie Horton, who was the owner of the car then, had the works put this body on it. He raced it very extensively, including Southport Sands. At Brooklands, he lapped at 98 miles an hour in 1928. The car leaving the line is Stu Harper in a copy of E.B. Ware's famous racing Morgan. E.B. Ware was an employee of J.A. Prestwick, the engine company. He raced his car in the 1920s. Stu set out to copy that body, but he's lowered the Morgan, and the engine is an extremely potent air-cooled Jap, which, when I say it's an air-cooled Jap, it's really an air-cooled Harper Jap. More of this engine, I think, Stu has made than ever Japs did. Now we have Chris Booth, and this is a very odd Morgan, really, in that it was found that one of the famous trials drivers, Jeff Harris, when he died, his widow was clearing out these things and found the remains of this car in one of the rooms and outside in the garden. Chris Booth managed to acquire it and discovered it was an extremely special racing Morgan, fitted with a special Blackburn engine, of which only 3 racing engines were built for factory use in the 1920s. Now we have one of the works team cars. This is the fastest Morgan in the team, Bill Wallbank's ex-Tommy Rhodes racing Morgan. This was in the factory relay race team from 1931 to 1935 and holds the lap record at Brooklands for three-wheelers at 103.76 miles per hour. It's fitted with an air-cooled racing Jap engine, not the original one unfortunately, but as good as Bill could get. Now we have one of the trials Morgans. Morgans were famous for their racing and also for their trials use. This is Dennis Rogers in the car used by Geoff Harris. He fitted it with twin rear wheels. Geoff Harris never in fact used it in that form, neither did Jim Goodall when he had it afterwards, but it shows it had the special rear end, and Dennis thought it would be good to demonstrate the twin rear wheel arrangement. Now we have Lowell Weeks in another famous car. This is built by Francis Beard, who was a famous racing tuner for Norton motorbikes. He used to tow his Norton bikes behind a Morgan, and so he formed the idea of racing, building a racing Morgan, especially for record breaking. Now we have a Club Morgan. This is Dave Hodgson driving a Ford engine Morgan, which had a gearbox inserted midway along it by Gordon Pedley, who sprinted this to considerable effect in the 1950s. Now we have a Darmont of Dave Pittock. This is a 1925 Darmont. Darmonts were Morgans that were built under license in Paris, near Paris in France, by Roger Darmont. He modified the style and design. You'll notice a slightly different body. This is a Darmont sporting body. He even made his own engines out in France, and the engine is a copy of the British Jap engine. Dave has not had this car long. He, I think, obtained it from France and has rebuilt it over here.
John Orton, in his Le Mans replica, he bought this car completely in bits in 1971. It had been owned by Will Sparrow prior to that and had raced extensively in the early 50s all over the country. It ran in the 1950 750 Club 6-hour relay and was second team overall, following the Bentleys home. John has now had it on the road some years. It is another example of a Le Mans replica, but unlike Ken Hills, this is one with quite an interesting racing history. This is the car that actually ran at Le Mans in 1962. It is driven by Richard Shepherd-Barron, who we're very, very pleased to see here today, and he shared the car with Chris Lawrence at Le Mans, so just enjoy this very historic +4. Now, the other end of the performance scale here is Eric White's delightful +8 4-seater. Now, this is the only one that has been officially built by the factory. It's been built specially for Eric. Sorry, I'm being given little messages over the walkie-talkie we've got here. This car is the only 4-seater +8 ever been built by the works, and as I understand, probably will be. It's had no serious problems at all from new. The Daimler V8 engined +4. Now, this car was converted by Basil Fielding in the early 1960s. It's a low-line +4, super sports, fitted with the 2.5-litre Daimler V8 engine. It was owned by the Right Honourable Basil Fielding and campaigned in the early 60s. It was then shipped out to South Africa and has been brought back to this country and beautifully restored now. Charles Smith with his 4.4. Many of you know it extremely well. It's a beautiful 4.4. First registered in 1965, and I think owned by Chas from New. It's got numerous modifications. It's been prepared to do the Paris-Peking, although I think he's worn it out twice over, waiting for the event to take place. Now again, on the hill, we have an extremely rare car, Pauline Halsey. This is a Super Sports 4-seater +4. Now, I think there have only been 3 or 4 of these built. It was an aluminium 4-seater, but built to full Lawrence Tune Super Sport specification. Now we have a slight pause before we go on to what we've marked on our little sheet here as the racers.
And the first 3-wheeler is the 880 Super Sports of Howard Chiverell, using a 3-speed chassis with one of the special Speedway engines that I mentioned to you, the 1008cc capacity. This is a fairly standard 880. He hasn't tuned it unduly. This particular engine, he was telling me he'd been having problems with fuel starvation. He now has 3 float chambers for each cylinder. This is Dave Shotton with a similar Morgan. Dave was out of Morgan racing for a considerable time and has only recently returned. Again, he's got an 880 on his, this time a 2-speed chassis. And now we have the star of the afternoon. This is Bill Tour, who's probably achieved more successes with racing Morgan three-wheelers than anybody, passengered by his lovely wife Maggie. Bill runs a garage business in the Liverpool area, and his 880 is just about unbeatable. In fact, at log 80, I believe it's set fastest time of the day at Goodwood, beating the four-wheelers.
An X-Works Trials car. It was owned by the factory until the mid-50s and was driven by Jim Goodall with great success in trials and also actually appeared at Brooklands. So it's been owned by its present owner since 1971. Come on, second. Away he goes. Of course, on these series ones, those of you who haven't driven one, the box is the wrong way round, with first and second on the right-hand side of the box. So if you've had too much to drink or get in a fluster, it can be quite awkward because you notch third or top instead of first and second. Coming through Orchard is John MacDonald in his fabulous +4 and brake and change down into Torres, hangs the tail out, hangs onto the door, up into third, on the anchors, down into second, locks up the wheels, round Pardon, boot full out of Pardon, one of 4 of us who wrote our cars off. He's got it all back together. It's mostly new, in fact. First time out was at Kilburn the other week when he got FTD. And he's a real artist on this hill, so just watch my call and see how you should go up Prescott. Charles Morgan in the original MMC11. Now this is the original prototype Works +8 that has won so many events, and probably I would think now must be the most successful of Morgans of all time. I don't really know, but it's won a great many events. Charles is doing his best. He says he has never driven up here before, but he was certainly trying very hard in practice. Hops, yes, he mustn't do that. He cut the Tories on the inside and got thrown off the curb. Big boot full up into Pardon, down the box, power on out of Pardon, and he's away up under the trees towards the Essex. Clutch bites, tire spin, up he comes into Orchard. Peter Askew sells the throttle into Orchard, power back on. Lots of nice noise and sun shining on the paintwork. Better lines through a Tories there, he kept it out in the middle of the road. Big boot full through the dip, up the box, back down the box, brake hard into Pardon. Here on the hill is Rob Wells with the Mod Sports +8. He's stopping on the start line to do the job properly, drops the clutch and away he goes. Rocketing up now towards the first left-hander, which is Orchard. Don't lift up, Rob. Don't lift up, Rob. You should go through there flat. Shots off into the Tories and makes the same mistake as everybody else has been going. You mustn't hold it too close into the right. Big boot full and up into Pardon.
Now we have Dave Shotton for his second run. Dave was a very popular racer back in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and then seemed to drop out of Morgan's for a while. We're very pleased to see him back. He seems to be doing a tourist board thing here, giving 2 people a ride up.
With a stand-up special. I think I'm probably right in saying this would originally have been fitted with a Climax as it's registered 1937. But it's very rare to see one with a shorter chassis as this, which is quite obvious when you look at it there as it goes up into Pardon. It's John Man. So when you see a +4 quickly. Oh, and a big slide. Come on, John, give it some stick. Hand on the door, one hand on the wheel, and he was half off the road there as he came around the Tories. They do fall off on the outside edge if you're not ready for it. Around Pardon safely.
Up Prescott with Dave Shelton's 1929 Jap behind us, a 2-speed that he's been driving for 22 years. Into the first corner. And up and around. On the 75th anniversary of the Morgan Motor Car, we're ready to go up Prescott Hill with the captain himself behind. Here we go. Peter behind. And we're going to do a little blitz of the hill. A little blitz of the hill. And as we're coming into the corner, the silver Vitesse Morgan is staying with us, and it's looking very, very good. Into the curve, and up. Around. Coming across the finish line with Peter Morgan behind in MMC2. A very beautiful run up the Prescott Hill with another car following behind, and it's been just a wonderful day and a wonderful 75th anniversary for the Morgan Motor Car. We're on the return road now, heading back into the pits. Peter with a large smile on his face, and I think he's quite at home behind the wheel of the 1984 Vitesse that he has stated is the best four-wheel car that Morgan has ever built. And I tend to agree with him after having put 150 miles on the car at Silverstone at a test day. The car came into its own, and unlike the first prototype Plus 8 had lapped Silverstone at 1:16.5, Peter was hoping for a 1:14.5 with the Vitesse, and indeed it did a 1:12.4 and a 1:12.8. So he's very, very happy with the car that he says is the finest four-wheeler Morgan ever built. And I tend to agree with him after being in the seat of both his car and having the opportunity to drive John R. Donovan's first delivered Vitesse Plus 8. Both cars respectively turning 112.4 and 112.8. The car, the Vitesse, is just an absolutely delightful car. It is sure-footed as any car on the road. It's a car that you drive, and as long as you drive it, it sticks with you. And the more you ask out of it, the more it delivers. And the real highlight of it is that the car is just super smooth, strong through the gears, and totally quiet. It actually slips up on other cars so quickly that they don't even know you're there. We made the run from the Morgan Works to Silverstone in 1 hour and 42 minutes, which was a nice run through the countryside, and the car delivers. It just flat out says, drive me and have fun with me. And that's what Morgan's all about. And that's why we're here on the 75th anniversary of this great historic motor car at the great historic Bugatti Hill.
We're going walking, spat in a bit. What are you doing?
Well, first one, a bit black and white. Well, it's obviously much better than
I qualify.
pure drivers, isn't it?
It's number 9, if that's the case. You know, mine's got the...
It's Tom to see a chap near me, he's an absolute hassle. Now I see an AA badges, and I haven't seen one of those.
Sydney, what we're going to do is judge this 1928 Morgan. It is, the way we're going to go about this thing is let's go over the car for complete detail, cleanliness, presentation, originality. And what we're looking for is preparation, things done correctly, clean, greaseless, and just as pristine as it can be. And on the cards, we'll deduct points as we go. And at the end of the judging, we'll just total what we have and go from there. Let's start with the engine here. I think he's done a very, very good job on the engine. His detailing is good. Everything's lined up nicely. I only see one thing that I don't like right off. What is that, in your opinion? See if you catch
He could have cleaned it up a little.
Yeah, he obviously drove it in, but then he didn't take the time to wipe the oil off, which is normal on a three-wheel engine, but if he's doing Concours work, I think he should take the time to at least tidy it up, because what we look for is total cleanliness and detail. He polished all of his bright work, and he got all of his slots pretty well lined up on his screws. The leads are nice, the wires are nice, the fuel lines are nice, but I'd like to see him take a rag, and I think we'll have to take, how many points you want to take off of that?
I'll leave it to you.
I think this one, it's just a cleanliness thing, and that's what Concours is all about, is originality, detail, and cleanliness. What we're doing is looking for the finish of the car, the paint, ripples, body seams. What do you think, Sydney?
Well, it looks good. From what you said before, this being a two-piece body, and there's a lot of stress this way when you're on the road. So you would expect to find some stress in the paintwork along here, I would imagine.
I think he's done a real nice job of putting it together where it doesn't work too bad on him, and it's a driven car, obviously, but it's in excellent shape, and the seams are nice, the finish is nice. I've never seen a straight body panel on a Morgan, and the fact they're all hand-built, but this one is extra special.
And notice this is being the brake or the gear?
That's a brake.
On the outside of the car.
Right. External work, and then, of course, with your hand controls and everything. The cables are very, very important, and normally he might have a rubber grip on here or something. The flat work is done in nice enamel, a lacquer, and his mechanisms down here are not all cruddy and greasy. His exhaust is extremely nice. The attachment to the body is done well. I think he's really done a nice job on this. The finish of his woodwork is superb. He says it was built about 1928 by G.C. Harris for competition, and he had bought it in very, very sad shape. It was a trials car, which a trials car gets a lot of pounding, so this many years later, this car is magnificent.
Would this been flat racing or hill climbing like we saw
Trials
yesterday?
is mud and up the side of the hill and over the dale, and this is really beating it up as if it was a tractor. Presentation is just excellent on the car. I would have gone over it and just dotted the little chips on the side here. It's been very easy to dot that. So we're going to have to take another point off on that. Okay? Interior. I think we're in fine shape here. I preferred him to have taken his wash rag out of here, but he didn't, and we're not going to hurt him on that. Everything is proper trim here. What do you think of the instrumentation and the presentation?
It looks fair and square.
Okay, I don't think we can take a thing off of that. I think he's done his homework there. Paintwork is excellent on the car. And keeping in mind that these cars go down the road and chafe a bit, it really is an excellent presentation. I haven't ever seen a straight panel on a Morgan, so we can't be real concerned with ripples. We would be concerned with dents, which there are not. Let's take a good look at his undercarriage here. He has really gone nicely under here. He's gotten under and detailed his tank and everything else. Why don't you take a lay down there? That's worth seeing. That's very, very good detailed work. He's safety wired his pieces under here. A lot of vibration involved in a three-wheeler, so he's obviously had the car out and drives it a lot, and he knows how to keep it from falling apart. Okay. Completed in Brooklyn in 1929. That's a nice little extra that was included with his car. All right, how do you feel about it overall?
Pretty classic.
I do too, and I think we've got a -3-point car here, which is absolutely excellent on a scale of 100. I think he's going to fare very, very well. My compliments to him. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next one.
Ja mam videofilm für Fernsehen, also Videokassette, weißt du, dann mit der Videokamera.
Flopping about inside, Brian.
Mit dem Holzding schon hochklappen. Schön. Ici, more is not wrong.
Well, we'll tell you about it.
Crispers car.
That's what we got here before you.
Perhaps she was seeing things.
That's it. That's one.
Thomas. Sorry. Come here.
Let's go.
Amazing, isn't it? I know.
The old ones, the condition is beautiful.
I say after Bewley, even the weather knows we've got the date right. Yes. 1909.
It's a 1929 Morgan Aero. It originally left the factory with an Anzani engine fitted. Unfortunately, the original engine isn't with it, but another Anzani has been obtained, albeit of a much earlier type, that being of 1923 vintage. One of the very first Anzanis ever fitted. It is a little breakable, but nevertheless we keep managing to put it back together and keep driving along and having a great deal of fun with the car. The car itself had been the property of several prominent club members who'd all fought shy of a rebuild, and when it finally came into my possession about 5 years ago, it needed stripping down to the last nut and bolt. Fortunately, I was able to retain the bonnet and the tail and side panels as original material, and also the original chassis. So a new wooden body frame was made, and then the whole thing slowly restored and put back on the road, and since then we've had a great deal of pleasure with it. It goes quite well, although not very fast. The engine has plenty of pulling power, goes up hills very well. Downhill it doesn't go too fast as well because the brakes are of a marginal type, but nevertheless it handles well. very light and responsive, and it is really a pleasure to drive.
Spectators, please keep clear of the track.
What's that? Don't do that. Don't do that. Done it down.
I'm sorry, last competitor, you've got to have another go because you dropped the flag twice, which rather upset the calculations of the time.
It's very simple.
ICI
Mr. and Mrs. Terry Hamer.
John Rowland. The next two cars, the three-wheeler is Mr. Chaplin's car, Mr. Chaplin from Lichfield in Staffordshire, well-known local car from those who are in the Midlands group, and it's the well-known concours winning car. It's competed in the Vintage Motorcycle Club Ardèche Rally in 1982, first prize in the concours, and it repeated the success in 1983. It's a 1933 Supersport Aero. And the four-wheeler is John Crome, Dunstable in Bedfordshire. He's a Cranbog member. And there's the usual large contingent of Cranbogians cheering furiously at around the outside. It says here, it's a successful competition car during its early days in the hands of Chris Thorne. So this is an ex-Chris Thorne car. It was badly damaged in an altercation with a Ford Capri in May 1983. Anyway, here we go, the last of the last chance trendies here. Wilson in Northampton. And the car is 1972 Ford 1600.
Now, are you people going to help me with the painting? You are? Well, that's good. Perhaps I could have a little chat with you all. Can you hear what I'm talking about? If I just chat to you. Okay. Now, look, what I would really like to do is to get you into 4 teams.
The engine was modified
when I draw my little cartoon drawings, it's all about more cars, funny people and cats, and anything you want me to put in.
TR4 engine.
Then you come along
double
and you paint
autos
with the powder paint that you've seen we're mixing up here. And because
quite a hot car is,
we want it to be bright and lovely when we've finished, I'm going to make the paint very, very thick so that you can't dribble down all the colours, because if you get all the colours muddled up, we'll just have mud at the end of it. We don't want mud, you see. We want lovely bright colours. But in the meantime, we'll just get all the paint ready. And then at 2:30, which there's hours to go yet, 20 minutes, I shall go and start doing my drawing. I shall want you in groups of 6, and you will start doing the painting. Okay? Try and stick to the one colour until you want to mix it and make a change, and then just take your time, wash your brush out in one of the big plastic buckets that will be there.
As this time the weather has shone on Morgan and confirmed the fact that 1984 is the 75th anniversary. Finally, just going back to Auntie Dot, you will notice on the back of her chair, she's got I Love Morgan. But I'm trying to get a sticker saying my other car is a Morgan.
the prize for the first in-class two-speeders and the overall three-wheeler, which is Mr. Brian Aaron. The Morgan Challenge Cup and the best four-wheeler, RTC 889C, 95 plus 4 from Payford in Devon. Class, Mr. Thorpe. Normal performance, it came over in a crate, it got lost, it went to Zeebrugge, it's ricocheting around Europe, but finally it got here. Well done, Bill. Another of our overseas competitors coming in and taking the pots. This is Michael Kalf from Holland. Michael is a teacher of watchmaking, and it says his car is called the only watch on 4 wire wheels. It certainly sounds like a watch here, running very smoothly. So here's the prize that we accepted by Ambrogio Macci on behalf of Mr. Goretti, who put up the fastest time of day by an overseas driver.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it was worth it. But here is the last prize, and this is Fred and Brenda's prize for their Orsog. Well done to you both.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Colling. I'm General Manager of ICI Autocolor. Before the presentation of the awards, ICI Autocolor has sponsored for the best paint finishes. I can't let this opportunity slip, I suspect on behalf of a lot of people, to congratulate everyone concerned with such a marvellous afternoon to celebrate the 75th birthday of Morgan. Peter Morgan and myself went round and looked at all the cars in the concourse. We had a very difficult job judging those in the best paint finish section. The standard is one I in ICI Autocolor would be very proud of. Second is Mr. W.D.R. Pitter from West Sussex. If you'd like to give it back to us, we'll fill in your name and the country and the model and everything for you. Okay. The winner of the Hose Bowl for the best finished car in the three-wheeler event is Chris Booth from Wolverton in Kent. Marvellous, thank you. Thank you very much. In the four-wheeler class, the winners of the two certificates of excellence are third, Michael Galf from Westland in Holland. William Gold from New York, United States of America. Congratulations, it really was immaculate. Even if I had some of those glasses. If you let us have this back, we'll fill in the names and so on and so forth. Oh yeah, okay. If you want to look at the,
can you turn that around, sir?
All right.
That's rather nice. 1, 2.
And first in this class, the winner of the ICI Autocolour Rose Bowl is Mrs. Jean Wall from Stourbridge. Let me give you the Rose Bowl. And let me give you a certificate. Thank you. Marvellous. There we are.
Thank you very much.
As a gesture to mark the very special relationship with your company, I would like to present you with this giant-sized birthday cake, complete with 75 candles, with our compliments. You may wish to cut it up and share it with your colleagues, or you may wish to donate it to some local hospital or children's home. It's up to you, but please accept it with our very best wishes and compliments.
Mr. Brian Codling and others at ICI really came up to it, and they really were interested, and I believe, sir, it was largely due to your own efforts. I thank you. The point is that I know what this means. It's not just kind of a lot of finance coming in, although you have helped us with the tickets and that kind of thing, but it's the work that goes into it, the work and interest. And having visited your firm earlier, about 4 or 5 months ago, I saw that was going to be present, and I do thank you very much, and all those involved at ICI. Thanks for the cake.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Back about 30 years. Yeah, well, I've been turning it over to Mullen.
Whatever you use, one of these spectacles. Well, no, it's one of these spectacles. Oh, yeah. You mean commercial central heating boiler? Yeah, well, I know what it's doing. Yeah, well, yeah, as I say, I had it in there 4 days. I've got an awful lot of stuff out. Yeah,
go.
I must say, I think these last 2 days have been absolutely incredible. I never thought for a moment that so many Morgans would turn up, and particularly today being the end of more or less the weekend. It's interesting to me because things have changed so much since our 50th anniversary. During the 50th anniversary, we had a small luncheon, which unfortunately my father missed because he died 4 months previously. And those who attended it were just suppliers of parts, agents, and a few drivers who'd driven Morgans in competition. Within the last 20 years, you've seen this enormous growth in the Morgan clubs and the tremendous interest that's arisen. And really, I think it's a lot to do with that, why there is this kind of Morgan joy, Morgan fun that is around. And I think it's great. I also think I should mention at the end of this film my assistant Mark Aston, who's virtually done this whole event single-handed along with the help of his wife. Naturally, he's had support from people overseas and secretaries, but to do it like he has done, I think is quite incredible. And for my part, I'm more than impressed. Where do we go from now? Well, I suppose if the interest remains, as I said the other day, I could be more optimistic in the next 25 years than I was in the last. And I think the reason of that is, naturally, I was rather at sea when my father died, and took a long time to kind of really get accustomed to running the place on your own. I didn't have him to go to. But I think the situation of the firm is sound now. And all I will say is that in 100 years, or the anniversary of the 100 years, there will be plenty of Morgans around. The way they're looked after, the manner in which they're shown and prepared for Concours, more or less makes me certain that Morgans are going on a long time, and particularly they'll also go on the road. I don't think Morgans are going to go into museums too quickly. There's too many of them anyway. And that's really all I would want. very nice.
The valve lift on the outside of the car.
What?
Valve lift on the outside.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Great. I remember driving a Darmont not so long ago. Somewhat serious. Thanks a lot. Really good.